Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everybody, wherever you are watching or listening from. It's a pleasure to be back, and I'd like to welcome you back to British English Pod with me, Lewis. And this week's topic is the best thing in the world, the best topic that exists. Yes, it is all about food. Food, glorious food. So I cannot wait to get started, and I hope you stick around until the end. So, let's crack on! Food, glorious food, da 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 da. So, I cannot wait to go through this lesson plan all about food, in which you will learn some phrasal verbs, some food-related expressions. You'll hear me talking and answering lots of debates and questions, and you'll learn some advanced vocabulary for fruits, vegetables, and containers in which we find food. So, yeah, let's begin. Let's get it started. Let's get it started hot. Let's get it started in here. Woo-hoo, ha-ha, woo-hoo, in here. And we will begin with the first question. It is, what did you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday? Well, today I'm recording this on a Thursday, as I usually do, and yesterday I didn't have breakfast because, as I've mentioned on the podcast before, I never really have breakfast. I love it when I do go to a hotel and I have an all-you-can-eat buffet, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to eat. I'm so hungry. And then I go down to the restaurant area and you see a selection of fruit, of different bread. You've got sweets, you've got croissants, you've got cakes, you've got beans, you've got bacon, you've got, everything you could ever wish for. But I only really have breakfast on special occasions. So what I usually have for breakfast is, well, 2 coffees. I have 2 espressos, maybe sometimes a flat white, which is 2 shots of coffee and a little bit of milk. So yeah, yesterday I didn't have breakfast. What about you? What did you have for breakfast yesterday? And what do you normally have for breakfast? Do you fast like me and skip breakfast? Or for you, is breakfast fundamental, essential, and absolutely necessary for your survival? Because I know for some of my students, they say that breakfast is their favorite meal. Then, yesterday, for lunch. What did I have for lunch yesterday? Well, I was kind of using up what I had left over in my fridge. And I remember checking my fridge and seeing that I only really had eggs. And I had some sauces, I had some milk. But that was kind of everything I had. So I cooked up some eggs. I just fried them and kind of turned them into scrambled eggs with some peas. Because in my freezer, I had some frozen peas. So I quickly boiled the peas and scrambled some eggs. And that was my lunch/brunch. I know, it doesn't sound very exciting. But my lunches during the week are usually not very exciting because I don't have a big lunch break. And if I do have a break, I, make the most of that break to record a podcast, think about ideas for videos, or go out for a run or a walk. So my lunch was very low calorie and healthy. It's not always like that, but yesterday it was. And then for dinner yesterday, this is when I pigged out. This is when I ate a lot. And I fancied pasta. I felt like pasta. And, well, in my fridge, of course, I had eggs, but I also had 2 peppers. And I had some olives, and I had some anchovies. So then I was thinking, well, maybe I can make some kind of like spaghetti puttanesca, which is a kind of pasta sauce which is based around tomato, garlic, onion, capers, olives, and tuna or anchovies, or maybe both. So how did I cook it? Well, I chopped up these two peppers. It was an orange pepper and a red pepper. And I fried it with a bit of olive oil and garlic. And I think I had some cherry tomatoes as well. So then I cooked that for 5-10 minutes. Then I put it in one of these plastic cups and I blended this mixture. Then at the same time, I thinly sliced some onion. So I started slowly simmering the onion. And to the onion, I added a tin of tuna with olive oil, a few little anchovies, capers, and olives. And then I added the kind of blended mixture of peppers and cherry tomatoes into the pan. I was stirring it for a while. I added a little bit of extra tomato sauce, which came in just a carton. And then I let it simmer for half an hour. And after that, I boiled spaghetti. I added the spaghetti to the mixture, and it was delicious. At the end, I chopped in a little bit of chili and chili oil because I like hot food. I like spicy food. And I had, so much pasta for dinner when I finished my classes. But it was delicious. It was so good. And in fact, today, I warmed up a container of this pasta for lunch. So I was using up my leftovers. So that's everything I ate yesterday. I also had a banana and I had a yogurt. So that was my diet yesterday. Now, question number 2. Would you say you have a balanced diet? I'd say so. I think so. My diet is a bit strange because of the fact that I don't eat a lot during the day and then I eat so much in the evening. And I know it's not what we should do, but it works for me. It's balanced in my own way. But of course, at the weekend, then I eat bad food, I drink more alcohol. I'm not as balanced at the weekend as I am during the week. But I think during the week, I have a very balanced diet, and I usually don't drink a drop of alcohol until Thursday or Friday. So overall, on the whole, I have a balanced diet. Question number 3. Have you got any allergies or intolerances? Yes, I do. So I am allergic to peanuts and I'm allergic to walnuts. And then there is the big doubt of if I'm allergic to pistachios or not, because I've never tried them. But I don't dare to try eating pistachio for fear of having an allergic attack. And I found out that I was allergic to peanuts when I went on a school camp. And this was maybe when I was about 10 or 11. So I was quite old when I realized that I had this allergy. And it was from eating crunchy nut cereals. You know, the brand from Kellogg's. Well, everybody was digging in to a bowl of cereals with milk. And I don't know if there were multiple options or not, but for some reason, I chose Crunchy Nut, perhaps thinking that they were Frosties or cornflakes. And as I was eating, I kind of noticed this strange sensation. Like, as I was swallowing, something didn't quite feel right. It didn't sit well with me. And my lips started tingling, and my throat started to tighten up a little bit. So I drank as much water as possible, and I didn't want to draw any attention to myself. I didn't want to be the center of attention, so I didn't really tell anybody. But deep inside, I think I was panicking a little bit because something just didn't feel right. Something was off. So I left this big tent that all the kids were in with the teachers because we were on some kind of school trip, camping trip. And I went back to my individual tent, and I remember just chilling out, just relaxing and waiting for all of these symptoms to fade away, to disappear bit by bit. And thankfully, luckily, this is what happened. That after half an hour, 1 hour, the symptoms and this discomfort faded away. So that is my peanut allergy. I haven't had an allergy attack for quite a while now, so let's hope it stays that way. Fingers crossed, and touch wood. And how about you, listener? Do you have any intolerances or allergies? Because I'm sure some of you do. So I don't want to feel alone. I don't want to feel excluded. So let me know in the comments. Now, question number 4. How often do you eat out? I eat out, I don't know. I think I eat out less than I used to. When I was living in Spain and when I'm back in Spain, I tend to eat out quite a lot more because eating out is a bit cheaper. And the lifestyle lends itself to eating out. Whereas here in Brussels, when I eat out, it's often just getting kind of fast food or a pizza or some chips at the end of a night out because it's relatively expensive to eat out in most places. And I usually prefer to go out for a drink with friends, and then hours later, I'll have a kebab, or I'll have some chips, or I'll grab a pizza, rather than meeting to specifically eat out. But having said that, a couple of weeks ago I went to the beach, and when I went to the beach, we went to a beach bar. And if that counts, which I guess it does, we ate out at a beach bar, and I had something similar to fish and chips, which was some fried cod with some chips. We had a starter to share. So, yeah, the last time I ate out was a couple of weeks ago. Next question, number 5. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, which would it be? And why, of course. If I could eat only one meal for the rest of my life, it's difficult because I'd need to think sensibly. Because if I ate only burgers and chips or pizza or unhealthy things for the rest of my life, then it would take a toll on me. It would have a negative effect on me, which I don't want because I want to have a balanced diet. So, I think what I'd go for is going to sound a little bit weird. You might already think that I'm quite weird because yesterday I only ate eggs with peas and a spaghetti puttanesca pasta. But I think I'd choose pasta as the one meal that I would eat for the rest of my life. Or a sandwich. Ugh. Decisions. Which one could I go for? I've already mentioned pasta that I love. So I'm going to go for a Spanish dish. And it's maybe not even a dish because it's so simple. It's what people eat for breakfast in a lot of Spain. And it is simply toast with like a tomatoey sauce and ham, Iberian ham. It's so basic, but it's so tasty. So when I was living in Andalusia, in Sevilla, I'd go to a local coffee shop or a bar, and what I would order was always the same. I'd get café con leche, which is coffee with milk, and I'd get una entera con jamón, aceite y tomate triturado. which, for those of you who don't speak Spanish, is, well, toast with ham, olive oil, and kind of blended fresh tomato. And it's so good. It always hits the spot. It's delicious. And it's not that extravagant or posh or fancy, but I think I could eat this every day of my life. So that's what I'm going to go for. How about you? If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, which would it be? And now the final question. Number 6. Have you ever been on a diet? Have I ever been on a diet? Not really. I don't really believe in the concept of diets because going on a diet always feels like you're doing something in the short term, that you're not doing something in the long term. And what comes to mind is diets where you don't eat any kind of carbohydrates, which is rubbish. It's useless because we need carbs. Everybody needs carbs, especially if you do exercise, you do sport, then we need carbs because carbs give us energy. So I disagree with any kind of carb-free or keto diets. More than anything, because bread, pasta, potatoes, cereal, rice, oh, it's so tasty. It's delicious. So I've never really been on a diet, but there are times when after I've been overeating and indulging and binge eating, then I do tell myself that I need to cut down on certain things. So around Christmas period, we always have a lot of chocolate, we drink a lot, we eat a lot. So then come New Year's Day, I always tell myself, perhaps as a New Year's resolution, that I'm going to cut down on sugar. I'm going to cut down on alcohol. I'm going to cut down on red meat. And I'm going to reduce my portion size. And if that counts as a diet, yes, I've been on a diet. But my diet is usually quite stable, where every single week I'll have half of the days when I'll be pretty healthy, and the other half of the days when I indulge a little bit more. Now, let's continue, but moving on, I'm going to quiz you. I'm going to quiz you on, I think, 15 or 16 different advanced words for, well, vegetables, fruit, and one or two random words, but the majority are veggies. Veggies. So if you're looking at the screen, and I'd encourage you, at least for this slide, to look at the screen. Because if you are looking, you will see lots of small pictures, images of these veggies. And I want you to guess their names, starting with the top left. So at the top left, these little things that we have, they are lentils. Lentils. You can have a lentil soup, for example. After that, moving to the right, we have cabbage. Kimchi, for example, is made using cabbage. Continuing to the right, the next image is green beans. Nice, healthy, tasty. Then we have two for the price of one. The green big flower is broccoli, and the white big flower is cauliflower. So broccoli and cauliflower. Now let's go down a row. And these next two change their names whether it is British English or American English. In American English, they would be eggplant and zucchini. But in British English, they are aubergine and courgette. Aubergine and courgette. And then these little balls, green balls, what I ate yesterday with my eggs, They are peas. Garden peas, green peas, but usually we just say peas. Going down another row, we have one that many of my students say looks like potato, but it's not. It's a type of spice, and it's used sometimes in medicine and in teas as well. It is ginger. And Ginger, of course, is also a person who has red hair. He is ginger. He has ginger hair. Then the next one is artichoke. Artichoke. And after that, we have another type of pea. But it's a different pea. It's the one that's used to make hummus. It is, of course, chickpeas. Chickpeas. Then we have a fruit. This fruit is peach. Peach. And now the final four, these ones might be a little bit easier, except the next one, which is this long root, which is green. It doesn't have any calories. It doesn't taste of anything. And it is celery. Celery. Next, we have two words. You can possibly say shrimp, or you can say prawns. Yummy. And the penultimate one, this looks like quite a big one, and it's similar to an apple, but a little bit juicier if it's ripe. It is a pear, and after that we have jam, strawberry jam, not to be confused with marmalade, because in English, marmalade is only used to refer to orange jam. It is marmalade only if it is orange flavor. How did you do? Did you know the majority of these veggies and other food? Hopefully. Now, let's continue. And from there, I'm going to choose some of the debates and discussions that I was using with my students. Because as always, I'm sure you know by now, but if you would like to join my classes and review all of these lesson plans that I have on Fridays with me, well, you can find a link in the video description and you can have classes with me. So I hope to see you there. And if you have any doubts or questions, send me a message on Instagram or send me an email to lewis@englishwithlewis.com. And I'm a bit thirsty. So luckily, I've got a glass of water here because I'm parched. If you are parched, it means that you are very thirsty. You see, all of this talking, it makes you quite thirsty. And before recording this podcast, I was recording another YouTube video, the one that in fact was released last Sunday. So yeah, I'm parched. But let's keep going with some different discussions. There are 10 in total. I forgot to add the numbers, but there are 10 in total. And let's begin with the first one. Fast food should be taxed more heavily. What do you think? Well, I agree. Because I am sometimes shocked when I see the prices of different food in a fast food establishment. If you go to a McDonald's or you even go to a supermarket and you see all of the sweets, all of this rubbish junk food, usually it's cheaper than in a restaurant for sure, and it's cheaper often than if you cook it yourself, which shouldn't be the case. If you want to eat high quality food, organic food, it can be quite expensive. Then fast food is quite cheap. There is a similar version to McDonald's here in Belgium, and it's called Quick. And this brand, this establishment, well, I walk past it every couple of weeks and I'll see the offers and it'll say like a full meal. So a drink, Coca-Cola, for example, some chips and a burger, only $4.99. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, it's so cheap. It's a bargain. But I never actually want it. I don't want to eat it because I know it's going to be rubbish. It's going to be junk food. It's going to have so many different preservatives and additives. And the meat isn't going to be a very high quality meat. But of course, if you don't have a lot of money, if you don't have a lot of resources, then you're going to go for whatever's cheaper. So governments, I believe, should try to make eating healthier much more affordable. Because fast food is usually a cheaper alternative to cooking certain things yourself. So yeah, I think it should be taxed more. Now I'm going to skip the next one because it's related. But how about this one? Cooking is an essential life skill. What do I think about it? Do I agree? Do I disagree? Are there more pros or are there more cons? I'd say yes. Cooking is without doubt an essential life skill. And I would even argue that we should probably learn how to cook more at school, especially at primary school. Before you start to study more seriously, I think it should be a bigger part of our lives. So in primary school, I know there are sometimes activities where teachers will help students to bake cookies, or bake a cake, or make a simple pasta. Well, I think there should be a little bit more focus on this. There should be more focus on nutrition and cooking. I'm fortunate that I was always quite interested in food and eating because, well, I've got a big mouth and I've got a big belly. So I wanted to learn how to cook myself. So I'd sometimes observe my mum and dad, and I'd learn from them thanks to that because they bought high quality food, they bought real food, fruits, vegetables, meat, and fish. So I could pick up some of these techniques to be able to cook. But if, for example, you reach the age of 16, 17, and you still don't know how to cook, then I think something's not quite right there. Something's a bit wrong. Everybody should be able to cook basic things to be able to live independently. And, well, if we think about 50 years ago, when women would have more traditional gender roles and they would stay at home and cook and clean and be a housewife, and men would go to work and the office, then they'd go back home and they'd have food ready for them. These men wouldn't be able to cook at all. So if, God forbid, they became a widow and their wife or girlfriend passed away, then the men would be useless. They wouldn't be able to do anything themselves. And we sometimes joke about this, thinking about my grandparents or my fiance's grandparents, that men used to be so useless in the kitchen. So at least we are progressing, that nowadays I think most men and women know how to cook. So it's becoming a more common skill that everybody knows how to do. Another question. Let's go with restaurants should display calorie counts. So Speaking about going on a diet, which I answered this question earlier, a diet and losing weight is simple. You don't have to be a genius to know how to lose weight. But weight isn't the problem. Many people will have the obsession of weighing themselves and standing on scales to see if they have put on weight, gained weight, or if they have lost weight. And this could turn into an illness, a disease, an eating disorder. When all we need to know is if you want to lose weight, you need to burn more calories than you consume. Then, everybody, we need to bear in mind that just surviving, just sleeping, sitting down, without moving at all, everybody burns about 1,500 calories, more or less. Then if you do exercise, you're going to burn more calories. If you go for a run of an hour and a half, you're going to burn 1,000 calories, give or take. So then you know that you can eat 2,500 calories and you're not going to gain weight or lose weight. You're going to stay the same. So it's not rocket science. It's easy to be able to track your calories and have an idea to not put on weight. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. Maybe I'm going off topic slightly. But I think we all know how to lose weight. That's my point. The difficult thing is having the willpower to be able to do it or not. And I agree, that's tough. Especially if you have a busy life, you have a lot of things to do, you're constantly moving, you're traveling, then it's harder to make the right choices to eat well. Absolutely. But if in restaurants you can always see how many calories are in each drink or in each meal, then I think it becomes a bit of an obsession. And I think obsessions are never a good thing. So, in the past, in certain cultures, people had just a healthy relationship with food and a healthy relationship with exercise. It wasn't about calorie counting and working out really intensely and keeping track of how much protein, how many carbohydrates, how much sodium, all of this stuff. If you think about people 50 years ago in Italy, for example, people would do exercise, they'd go for a walk, they'd socialize, they'd eat good quality food, and they'd eat a lot of carbs as well, and a lot of cheese. But most of them wouldn't put on weight, or they wouldn't put on a lot of weight, just because everybody had a healthier relationship with food, where food was a social aspect of life and a big pleasure in life. And of course, if you notice that maybe you are putting on weight, well, you can cut back or cut down on certain ingredients, drink a little bit less, eat a little bit less, and then return back to normal. So, sorry for rambling and going off on a tangent and not sticking to the question directly. But to sum up, in a nutshell, I don't think restaurants should display calorie counts. We should simply try to be aware of how much we are consuming and how much we are burning to have a rough idea, rather than becoming obsessed about it. Now let's do one more of these little debates. And I think on previous podcasts, I've discussed vegetarianism, so I'm not going to go into that. And, well, let's go with organic food. Organic food is worth the extra cost. And when I think about organic food, what I understand is that it doesn't use pesticides, they don't use lots of chemicals, and they try to keep everything as natural as possible. And I think this is a good thing, of course. But personally, knowing how stingy I am, I don't think that organic food is worth the extra cost. Because I'd say on average, organic fruit and vegetables, it can cost maybe 30% more. I'd say more or less 30% more. And for me, 30% is quite a lot. So if your weekly shop costs you €100, then you replace everything with organic food and organic ingredients, it becomes 130. Now, you times that by 4 and you have your monthly expenditure. That's an extra €120. Then you times that by 12 to have your annual expenditure. Whoa. Then it becomes what? An extra 1,300, 400. That can go a long way. If you saved that money for a trip, for example, there you go. You have maybe not a free trip, but a very, very cheap trip just from avoiding organic food. So if you've got the extra money to pay for it, perfect. But like me, I'm stingy. I'm trying to save. I haven't really got the money to afford organic food or to justify spending that money on organic food. Now, the next question's a funny one, and it's one which can make us a little bit competitive and territorial. Which country do you think has the best cuisine? Which country do you think has the best cuisine? And, well, if you're watching this podcast and not only listening, you'll see that here there is a delicious image of one of our national dishes. Fish and chips, of course. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. Lovely. Now, of course, I'm being ironic. I'm being sarcastic. I don't really think that the UK has the best cuisine in the world. But I don't think it's that bad. I think it gets a bad rap. British cuisine gets a bad rap, meaning a lot of criticism and a negative stereotype, when I think we've got some delicious dishes. A Sunday roast is amazing. Full English breakfast, very filling but lovely. Fish and chips is great. Shepherd's pie is amazing. We've got loads of lovely pies and pasties and desserts. So British food is not among the best in the world, but hey, it's not so bad. It's not as bad as people say. But which countries could have the best? Well, I'm just going to say the candidates. And then you can tell me in the comments which country you think has the best food. Italy is obviously an option. Japan is maybe an option as well. Spain is for sure an option. Let's not forget French food as well. Then those are probably the main candidates from Europe. I could maybe even mention Greek food and Turkish food, which is very, very tasty as well. And if we move to the Americas, well, I think Brazilian food is quite interesting, but I haven't really tried authentic Brazilian food that much. Argentinian food is great, especially when it comes to an Argentinian barbecue. That's fantastic. Argentinian beef is wonderful. But then if we go up to Central and North America, Mexican food is to die for. I love spicy food. I love these tortillas, and I love all of the vibrance of Mexican food. But then I have to also think about Indian and Pakistani food because I love curry. I love spicy curry in the UK, and the majority of it is from some areas of India and Pakistan, and a bit of Bangladesh as well. So I don't know. I can't make up my mind. I can't decide. So let me know in the comments, which cuisine do you think is the best in the world? And now let's look at some food idioms, some food expressions. I reckon you'll know some of them. The first one, I definitely think you know, because the first one is a piece of cake. What does it mean, a piece of cake? Well, a piece of cake is something that is very easy. It's a piece of cake. It's very easy. Next, we have it's not my cup of tea. For example, I could say that American food isn't my cup of tea. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's not my cup of tea. Then, cheap as chips. Cheap as chips. I remember going to a kebab shop when I went to Germany, and it was cheap as chips. It was a bargain. It was not very expensive. After that, we have bring home the bacon. This one is maybe slightly outdated, slightly old-fashioned, but you can still hear it sometimes. So bringing home the bacon is, well, being the main breadwinner, which is another expression. If you bring home the bacon, you bring home the money. So you are the person who is, well, maintaining a family. You're bringing home the bacon. You are the main breadwinner. Next, we have take with a pinch of salt. You can also say, in American English, take with a grain of salt. And it's usually used when somebody's joking or being a bit silly, and you tell someone else, like, hey, don't listen to him. Take everything he says with a pinch of salt. So it's like, don't take them seriously. Don't take everything they say as fact. After that, we have spill the beans. Oops, I spilt the beans. If you spill the beans, you reveal a secret. Oh no, I spilled the beans. Sorry. Then we have cool as a cucumber. Some people, just out of pure nature, are cool as a cucumber. They're very, very relaxed, very calm. So someone is cool as a cucumber when they're very chilled, very relaxed. And finally, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We could also say, don't put all your eggs in the same basket. It means don't rely or bet exclusively on one thing. Because if it goes wrong, you're ruined. You're going to be bankrupt. Now, having said that, let's go over these idioms, these expressions. As usual, I'm going to read it the first time and make a beep sound. Then the second time, I will tell you the answer. So number one, make sure you invest in a variety of stocks. Don't beep. Make sure you invest in a variety of stocks. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, mate. Don't do it. It's risky. Then we have, he's always joking about. So just take him, beep. He's always joking about. So just take him with a pinch of salt. Don't take him seriously. He's always joking about. Number 3. As a native Spanish speaker, Italian is beep. It's so similar to Spanish. As a native Spanish speaker, Italian is a piece of cake. It's so similar to Spanish. Number 4. Oh, I love a bit of gossip. Go on. Beep. Why did they break up? Oh, I love a bit of gossip. Go on. Spill the beans. Why did they break up? Now, I must say that here, young people, the younger generation, would probably say, spill the tea. And spill the tea is a more common way of saying, tell me the gossip. Whereas spill the beans is more just, tell me the secret. Reveal the secret to me. Number 5. Feta cheese isn't beep. The taste is a bit overpowering for my palate. Feta cheese isn't my cup of tea. The taste is a bit overpowering for my palate. My palate is my ability to taste things. Now, number 6. Back in the day, my granddad used to beep. Nowadays, my partner and I work full-time and earn roughly the same amount. One more time. Back in the day, my granddad used to bring home the bacon. But nowadays, my partner and I work full-time and earn roughly the same amount. Number 7. I admire my boss. She never seems to get stressed. She's as beep. I admire my boss. She never seems to get stressed. She's as cool as a cucumber. She's as cool as a cucumber. And number 8. You should definitely go to that new bar on the corner. It's beep. You should definitely go to that new bar on the corner. It's cheap as chips. It is cheap as chips. Cheap as chips, mate. It's a bargain. An absolute bargain. Did you know the majority of these idioms, these expressions? And I'm realizing already that time flies when you're having fun. And I love this topic so much. I reckon I could keep going for ages. I've already been speaking for 45 minutes. And it feels like I've been having a chat for 15 minutes. But we're not going to finish yet. Let me go over a few more things for another 10 minutes, give or take, and then we will call it a day. So, some quick questions. Sweet or savory food? What do you prefer? A common mistake? We don't say salty food. We say savory food. Because if you describe food as salty, what you're saying is that it's very salty. It has a very salty flavor. So, I think I prefer savory food. I don't have a sweet tooth. So, if you give me the choice, I'm going to choose savory 9 times out of 10. Next question. Tea or coffee? In spite of the fact that I am a Brit, I am British, I'm not that bothered about tea. And I only really drink tea when I'm back home. Here, living independently, I only really buy coffee and I only drink coffee. I don't mind tea. There's nothing against it. But for me, tea is about relaxing, taking it easy, while on the other hand, for me, coffee actually gives you energy. It wakes you up. And that's more important for me than relaxing. Homemade food or restaurant food? What do you prefer? Well, it depends on the restaurant, but I actually think that most of the time I prefer homemade food. It depends who's cooking, obviously, but my mum and dad, they're both great cooks. I don't want to blow my own trumpet too much. I don't want to brag too much, but I'm quite a good cook myself. So I love eating my own homemade food. And if you're going to a restaurant, of course, it can be a lot better than what you're able to cook. It can be absolutely incredible. But there are times when restaurant food tastes a little bit off. It tastes a bit rotten, or it tastes like it's too salty, or it's, like prepared food. It's been warmed up in the microwave. So obviously, it depends on the restaurant, but most of the time, I prefer homemade food. Now, spicy. I love spicy food. I've mentioned it before. So for me, this one is easy. It's a no-brainer. I don't have to use my brain to answer this question. I prefer spicy food. And there are times when I've got some kind of like hot sauce or I've got some chilies in the fridge and I add spicy stuff to food that maybe doesn't make sense that it's spicy. Even if I just want some, some chips or some potatoes of any kind, I add chili. I add chili flakes. So even avocado on toast. I love adding some chili to it to make it spicy. So yeah, I prefer spicy food to mild food. And this next one is also a no-brainer. Breakfast or dinner? Breakfast or dinner? I am a dinner guy, 100%. Breakfast, I can take it or leave it. I don't need it, and it's not going to make a big difference if I have breakfast or not, because I'm not hungry. I don't feel like eating. But at the end of the day, I'm starving. I'm absolutely starving. So I look forward to the moment of having dinner. Or, as was clarified on a recent podcast with my mate Steve, in the north of England, we say breakfast, dinner, and tea. Whereas neutral English is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This question here was referring to tea. And at the end of the day, I'm starving. Absolutely starving. All right. Anyway, let's finish off with a couple of phrasal verbs in conversation. So, how about I ask myself two questions? And let's go with this one. Have food prices gone up significantly where you live? Have food prices gone up significantly where you live? I don't think they've gone up significantly. I notice this year that food prices have definitely gone up. They have risen. They have increased. But I noticed the difference between now and 3 or 4 years ago. And in that case, I think food prices have probably, in most cases, gone up by 20%, maybe. If we think about the bare necessities like eggs, olive oil, stuff like that, I think it has gone up about 20% in the last few years, which is quite a lot. I know in some countries, the inflation is off the charts. So 20% in 4 years, 5% a year sounds like nothing. But for me, it's quite a big increase. And one final question. Let's go with, can you whip up any meals without looking at a recipe? Can you whip up any meals without looking at a recipe? And to whip up or rustle up is to prepare quickly. So, yes, I can whip up or rustle up meals without looking at a recipe most of the time. And in fact, I never look at recipes. At my mum and dad's house, they've got loads of recipe books, but I think it's more for decoration than anything else. Because the amount of times that they actually look at the recipes, it's minimal. It's not that often. So usually, they're making it up as they are cooking, and I also make it up as I'm cooking. So I have some inspiration from watching different videos, maybe reels of different dishes. I know what dishes should look like. So then, from that starting point, I'm able to whip up a meal and mix it up. I can improvise. So you don't need to absolutely memorize a recipe or stick to a recipe because I think it's nice just to add some variety. So, yes, I can whip up a meal without necessarily having to look at a recipe. All right, I think I'm going to shut my mouth now. I'm going to rest my vocal cords. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, all related to food, glorious food. And as always, if you're interested in joining my classes, you can find a link in the description. And I'd also encourage you to download my application, English with Lewis, to take your English to the next level. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.